Morning. What up, YouTube Live? Second this morning. Earlier today, I did my thoughts about Avengers Endgame trailer. So check out that video here also on this channel. But as always, every Friday, I will give you my recap or review video episode, a video of the new episodes of Titan series, the DC Universe Titans live action series. So this is something expected, of course. Now, today is season 1, episode 9. Now, as always, with all my recap or TV review videos, this too will contain spoilers. So, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I will be discussing spoilers. This review is mainly for those of you who have already watched the episode as well. The episode 9, it's titled Hank and Dawn. Now that's interesting because, as you recall, I think what was it again? Episode 3? I want to make sure I get this right. Episode 2. Episode 2 was titled Hawk and Dove. But remember, episode 2, they were already in their, full on suit. They were already full on superhero form. And by the end of that episode, Dove got thrown off the building, and so she is in intensive care unit, and and Hawk is very worried for her. So that's where we left them last time in episode 2, and it took so long, all these episodes, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, for us to finally get to see what happens to Hank and Dawn again. And the title is Hank and Dawn because it's an origin story. It's a prequel. Now, those of us DC fans, especially those of you who may have read Hawk and Dove in the comic books, would know the different iterations or incarnations of the characters. And of course, it's Dawn before she was. I'm sorry, Dove before she was Dawn, or even before she was like played by Holly. Uh, it was played by this guy named Donnie. So this episode, the writers of this show give their take, their own version of how Hank and Donnie got started as the Hawk and Dove, the original Hawk and Dove. And it's significantly different from the pages of the comic books. And we'll get to that as well, especially including Donnie's demise. Let me break it down for you here. I have some notes. I don't want to lose my train of thoughts. The storyline that they picked for Hank and Donnie for this one, it has to do with, because the big question is what it is, or what is it that motivates Hank to become Hawk, and what is it that motivates Dawn, Minka Kelly's character, to eventually become, or to ultimately become, Dove. So the why, the why for those two people, those are the two big questions that need answering in this episode, and those are the answers. Excuse me. This episode is offering for you. So for Hank's side, it all starts out with his brotherhood with Donnie ever since they were a kid. And there's this coach in their football team who is basically, he's like Jerry Sandusky. Do you remember Jerry Sandusky from the Penn State, who molested all those boys? Horrible, horrible human being. So they kind of took after that, or base this storyline or arc based on that, horrible event that actually happened in real life. So the Coach Vincent, molested Hank when he was a kid, and you could tell Hank, when he was a kid too, he's already aware of what the coach does, you know. And so Donnie's like so oblivious. He's such a kid, you know. It's like, oh no, I want to see the weight room. No, no. And it's like, and Hank is like, no, dummy. He's not showing you the weight room. He's trying to touch you. So what I'm getting at is that even when he's a little kid, Hank already has heroic qualities, you know, where he puts himself uh, before or ahead of his loved ones, or not ahead of, yeah, before his loved ones. Like, I'm gonna sacrifice myself. I'm gonna be a martyr. I'm gonna take this for the team. So when he's a little kid, he's already has that. Despite, you know, you may see him as a rough exterior or maybe an asshole as he's grown into an adult. It's like he's rough around the edges, but he has that inner heroic quality ever since he was a kid inside him, and it's shown in that moment when he tells Donnie, "No, go home. I'll take your place." Um, so that says something about the character. Um, Years later, Donnie's trying to. He feels guilt, and I can relate to that. You know, if somebody takes my place and takes a beating on my behalf, you know, I would feel indebted. I would be like, hey, it's my turn now to take care of you, and I get the sense that that's what's weighing heavily on Donnie's shoulders. Like, damn it, I gotta return the favor somehow. I gotta be the one looking out for him now, because he's hurting himself, you know, with all these concussions out in the football field for the sake of this university that's banking on him. No, I got to look out for my brother because he looked out for me when I was a kid. So I totally get that. I totally get that, and that's the motivation that kind of drove, or I would say I'll use present tense. That kind of drives Donnie in his friendship with Hank. Um, Now, the storyline or the origin story for Don Granger, played by Minka Kelly. Uh, at some point, I have a little bit problem with it, because my first reaction to it was, and I'll tell you what it is. Her storyline. My first reaction is like, that's it. We don't see the why. Like, you have this huge, serious crime molestation thing going on with Hank, but with Dawn, she seems so privileged. She's like this upper class, and I guess her only problem is that um, her mom would not leave her dad, who beat them up when they were kids, and who beats the mom up still. So I'm like, to me, it's like the level of the. I mean, those two are still abuse, right? Those two are still categorized as abuse, but man, that's not at the same level as molestation. That's like horrible, horrible. Um, but so that's my first reaction, that's unfair to Dawn, but that's just my reaction to what her storyline is, the origin story. So that's basically it. I'm giving it to you right now. She meets with her mom. They have this hoity-toity tea, and the mom says, "I'm gonna go back to your dad." And I was like, "No, you gotta leave dad. He beat us up." Um, and then that's it. And the next thing you know, they encounter uh, Donnie and Hank. Uh, when they were on the street. Now, hey, Third Star, what up? Don broke Bad Dad's arm. Oh, thanks, bro. Thanks for that info. So let me so I don't lose my train of thoughts. Oh, there you go. Here's my note. And then this car accident. I have problem with that too. It seems so okay in the comic book pages. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Don Star. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the comic books, the way Donnie dies is something more of a in heroic nature. Like he's saving somebody and the villain kills him. Something of I don't remember that the top of my head. Something more epic. And this whole thing with the car accident thing is just like, Oh, I don't know. It just feels like Donnie's death is owed, or we the audience are owed to see something more epic than just two vans colliding and hitting them. That whole sequence, I, I, I guess this is gonna make me sound like a bad guy, but it looks funny. I kept replaying that. I was like, yeah, that looks very comical, cartoony. Like the way the car colliding like a freaking pinball machine, and then just all of a sudden just hits those two at the right spot, right in front of it. It's like, oh, yeah, they're just. I guess the writers are like, oh, how do we get rid of Donnie? How do we get rid of Donnie? Let's do this. I just feel not satisfied with how Donnie went out, but that's just probably me. I'm probably alone on that one. All right, moving on. Uh, so Hank and Don start hanging out together. They're united by their grief over the loss of their loved ones, and Don ultimately finds out about Hank's past and why it is that Hank and Donnie decided to be Hawk and Dove and start beating up pedophiles and molesters. It's because Hank's past, with the Coach Vincent. And so Don visits Coach Vincent. Long story short, Don beats up Coach Vincent. Coach Vincent beats her up back again. And then Hank shows up and Hank beats up Coach Vincent. It's pretty epic. That whole scene was like, if you have like a big hatred for pedophiles and molesters out there, understandably so, because they suck as human beings. Um, Watching that whole sequence with Don and Hank and Coach Vincent in that home, when they're like colliding, uh, that was pretty. That's satisfying. That's more satisfying than the whole car accident that took out Donnie and Don's mom. So it's like, pa pa, leave Don, you're never here. So that's the moment. This when Don decides to stay instead of leaving. When Hank tells Don to leave, you're never here. It's on me. The onus is on me. Go. You don't need to be a part of this. When Don decides to stay, not the moment when they have sex, but when Don decides to stay and closes the door and starts, decides to be with Hank throughout the whole beating up of Coach Vincent. That's when the Hawk and Dove, uh, the team is formed, in my opinion. Of course, the sex is fun. Come on, that whole scene was gorgeous. I mean, like freaking a man. Once Minka Kelly undresses or unrobes, and then freaking Alan Richardson, takes off his shirt. It's like this amazing looking lingerie over body of hers, with beautiful butt, and then Alan Richardson was his six pack ab and musculars, and dude, that of course, man, and the silhouette on those, it's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. The lighting on that whole, it's very romantic, very Hollywoody, and it just like it makes me feel like first it makes me think like I gotta work out, I gotta hit the gym. Freaking Alan Richardson puts me to shame. And number two, my reaction to that is like, damn, look at this, a beautiful man and a beautiful woman, becoming one. I mean, that's like if they ever make a movie about Adam and Eve, if you believe Adam and Eve existed, if you don't, that's fine. Then they should totally cast Alan Richardson and Minka Kelly, like the best specimen of both genders, man. It was like the most popular of jock and the most cheerleaders looking beauty. It's just like, come on. Of course they're gonna have sex. Um, it's just funny. It's funny. So I digress. Overall, I think it's a pretty good origin story. I like how they they incorporate Rachel, Raven. Raven keeps showing up saying, Hank, 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 Don, 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 help me, help me, help me. So it answers my question in the previous episode recaps when I was like, when are we going to see Hawk and Dove again? I want to see Hawk and Dove. Hey, RGD, thank you, man. Great episode indeed. That's right. Great episode. So finally, we get to see them again. And finally, the writers are going to connect or reconnect, I should say, reconnect Hawk and Dove with the rest of the Team Titans. Because in the last episode, remember, at the end of that episode, Starfire is pretty much strangling Raven. Uh, Raven wakes up something in Starfire, and Donna Troy tells Dick Grayson, hey, Starfire's here to kill Raven. So that's the cliffhanger, right? And I mentioned to you in the previous recap episode that maybe my theory is that in the next episode, Donna Troy will try to fight off Starfire away from Raven, but maybe not. Now that we see that there's this origin story of Hawk and Dove, Hank and Dawn, maybe Hank and Dawn or Hawk and Dove will intervene. Maybe they will show up and kind of help out with that whole situation of Starfire killing Raven. So we'll see. It's a good. It's. I wouldn't call this a filler episode, but it's a good. It's a good break. It's a good small hiatus, and it's a good way to bring Hawk and Dove back into the equation, as opposed to just like they just show up. Now we actually get the writers actually put some thoughts into how or what went through the minds or what goes through the minds of Hank and Dawn when Dawn is lying in bed and Hank is sleeping in that hospital. So overall, it's a good episode. Definitely, I agree, and I think it's a well thought out episode. I can't wait for next week. So we'll see how it plays out. Let me know, what do you think about season 1, episode 9, titled Hank and Dawn? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I freaking love this show. I'm so glad DC Universe made Titans. Love it, love it. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, subscribe to my channel and ring the bell so you can get notified whenever I post new videos. And as always, please help support this channel by contributing monthly to patreon.com/ramascreen. That's patreon.com/ramascreen. Let's rock this.